Most women treat foreplay like a waiting room, a series of physical steps you have to get through to reach the main event. But if you want to be the woman he can never forget, you have to realize that foreplay is the architecture of desire. It's the space where you move from being an option to becoming a lifetime discovery. Today, I'm revealing the 5 things men truly love, from the power of your non-reactive anticipation to the way you use a verbal anchor to claim the moment. It's time to stop auditioning for his pleasure and start leading with sovereign presence. We've been conditioned to think that foreplay is just a warm-up act, but for a man of substance, foreplay is the sanctuary. It is the space where he decides if you are just another temporary sentiment or a lifetime discovery. Men don't just love the physical aspect of foreplay, they love the sovereign presence you bring to it. 1. The architect mindset. Men love it when you stop auditioning and start leading. When you use a verbal anchor to tell him exactly what feels good, you aren't being demanding. You are being a peer of character. You are showing him that you own your pleasure, which takes the performance pressure off his shoulders and allows him to actually be present with you. 2. The iron velvet friction. There is nothing more intoxicating than the contrast between your daily strength and your private selective softness. When a woman who is a powerhouse in the world, a woman with a legacy of competence, reveals her raw, uninhibited velvet side in the bedroom, it triggers a massive respect dopamine loop. He feels he has earned a version of you that no one else gets to see. 3. The post-validation piece. Men love it when you aren't checking his face for approval. When you are grounded in your own body, enjoying the sensations for yourself, it creates a vulnerability vacuum. Your self-contained pleasure is a magnet. It pulls him into a state of deep focus because he realizes he doesn't have to manage your ego. He can just be with you. 4. The micro-authenticity of response. Forget the polished version of intimacy. Men love the authenticity spike, the messy hair, the hitched breath, the unscripted quirks. It's the evidence that you have dropped the polished mask and are offering him a true safe harbor. That raw honesty is what makes a moment unforgettable. 5. The sovereign ownership. Men love the way you claim the space, whether it's through intense, non-blinking eye contact, or the way you confidently guide his hands. You are signaling opinion sovereignty. You aren't a passenger on this journey. You are the director. When you lean into these 5 things, you aren't just having foreplay. You are building the architecture of a connection that he will never find anywhere else. You are moving from an option to an essential part of his world. The investment floor of tension, the silent architecture of desire. In the world of high-status attraction, most people make the mistake of thinking that desire begins the moment the lights go down. They treat foreplay like a light switch that can be flipped on at will. But for the woman of sovereign presence, desire is a skyscraper, and the investment floor of tension is the foundation that must be laid hours, days, or even weeks in advance. The investment floor is the psychological minimum of respect, competence, and boundaries you establish in your daily life that makes your eventual intimacy high stakes. Without this floor, physical touch is just a commodity. With it, intimacy becomes a lifetime discovery. The power of pre-bedroom sovereignty. The investment floor is built on your legacy of competence. When a man sees you operating in your element, making decisive moves in your career, maintaining your opinion sovereignty in a group setting, or holding firm to your investment floor of how you expect to be treated, he is subconsciously building a respect profile of you. This is the iron. When you have a life that is a moving train, he realizes that your time and your attention are limited resources. This creates a natural tension. He isn't just dating you, he is qualifying for your world. If he sees you as a woman who doesn't need his validation to be whole, the moment you finally choose to invite him into your private space, the value of that invitation skyrockets. The tension exists because there is a contrast between the fortress you are to the world and the sanctuary you are about to reveal to him, triggering the respect dopamine loop. The investment floor ensures that when foreplay actually begins, it isn't cheap. It triggers a massive respect dopamine loop because he feels he has earned his way onto the floor. An image, a cinematic, high-definition shot of a woman in a sharp, professional suit, walking confidently through a high-end office lobby, her face set in a look of post-validation peace. It represents the investment floor, the strength that makes the later softness valuable. 8K, a high-value man, an investor, rather than a consumer, is biologically drawn to this tension. He wants to know that the woman he is with has a backbone. When you finally transition into the selective softness of foreplay, that velvet is infinitely more powerful because it is supported by the iron of your daily life. He feels the weight of the privilege. He realizes that while many women can offer physical touch, almost none can offer the sanctuary of a woman who is truly his peer of character. The sovereign finality, making the softness high, stakes the investment floor of tension, is what prevents you from ever becoming a temporary sentiment. You are an essential destination because you have built a world that is worth the effort of entry. Hannah Medja, close up of a woman's face in soft, late afternoon light. She looks calm and entirely self-contained, her gaze steady and non-reactive. This visualizes the investment floor, the grounded power that precedes the intimacy. AK, by maintaining your standards and your sovereign presence outside the bedroom, you ensure that every cute thing or uninhibited moment inside the bedroom carries the weight of your entire character. You make foreplay unforgettable because you are the only woman who understands that the most powerful form of attraction is the one that is built on a foundation of unshakable respect. The non-reactive anticipation, the power of the still center in the frantic pace of modern dating. Most people are addicted to speed. They want to rush through the tension to get to the payoff. But a woman of sovereign presence understands that the most intoxicating part of desire isn't the destination, it's the non-reactive anticipation. This is the psychological ability to remain perfectly still and grounded while the tension around you rises. It is the refusal to tilt or fidget in the face of intense chemistry. When you master this, you aren't just waiting, you are creating a vulnerability vacuum that forces a man to step up, lead, and fully commit to the moment, puncturing the rush to please. Most women, when they feel the spark of attraction, fall into a reactive state. They start talking faster, they fidget with their hair, or they rush the physical progression because they feel the need to fix the silence or ease the tension. This audition energy signals that you are uncomfortable with the power of the moment. However, when you lead with non-reactive anticipation, you are broadcasting opinion sovereignty. You are signaling that you are the moving train, and you are perfectly comfortable in your own skin, regardless of what happens next. By remaining calm and unbothered, you remove the performance pressure from yourself and place the burden of intent on him. To a high-value man, a man who is used to everyone reacting to his status or his presence, your stillness is a sovereignty signal. It tells him that you aren't a consumer of his energy, but a sanctuary of your own. Your non-reactivity acts as a safe harbor. It says, I am not in a hurry because I am already home. This forces him to drop his own mask of competence and actually feel the depth of the connection. The Wiron velvet gravity of stillness, non-reactive anticipation is the ultimate expression of the iron velvet contrast. The Aran is the unshakable composure you maintain, the steady gaze, the slow movements, the unblinking focus. The velvet is the palpable warmth and receptivity that sits just beneath the surface. Image a cinematic, high-definition close-up of a woman's face in low light. She is perfectly still, looking at someone off camera with a gaze that is calm, steady. There is no tension in her features, only a grounded, non-reactive peace. 8K. When you refuse to rush, you trigger a massive respect dopamine loop. He respects the iron of your self-control, but he is biologically compelled to find the velvet within your stillness. He realizes that you are a lifetime discovery because you can't be rushed or handled. You must be experienced. An image, a sharp, focused shot of a woman's hands resting calmly on a table or her own lap. They are not fidgeting, they are relaxed but ready. The lighting is warm and directional, emphasizing the texture of the skin. It represents the power of non-reactive anticipation. AKP, the sovereign finality, owning the pace, non-reactive anticipation turns you into the architect of the evening. You aren't reacting to his pace, you are setting the frequency. By mastering the art of the non-reactive wait, you ensure that the eventual intimacy is never cheap. You show him that you are a woman of sovereign presence who understands that the most powerful thing you can do is simply be. You make the experience unforgettable because you are the only woman who had the courage to let the tension speak for itself. The authenticity spike of touch. Breaking the script of perfection in a world obsessed with performance. Most people treat intimacy like a choreographed dance. They worry about the right moves, the right angles, and maintaining a polished mask that makes them appear eternally composed. But for a high-value man, a man who spends his life navigating the transactional and the artificial, the most addictive thing you can offer is not perfection. It is the authenticity spike of touch. This is the moment when your physical reaction becomes raw, unscripted, and undeniably real. It is the visual and tactile evidence that you have left the audition and have entered a state of total, uninhibited presence. Puncturing the polished mask, the authenticity spike occurs when your touch stops being polite or practiced and starts being a visceral response to the moment. It is the involuntary hitch in your breath when he touches a sensitive spot. It is the way your grip tightens on his shoulder without you thinking about it. It is the messy hair and the perfect sounds that signal your sovereign presence has been overtaken by genuine desire. To a man, this spike is the ultimate respect dopamine loop. He doesn't want to feel like he's with a performing partner. He wants to feel like he has qualified for the real you. When he sees an authenticity spike, he realizes that he is having a unique effect on you that the rest of the world never gets to witness. This exclusivity acts as a massive investment anchor. He isn't just having a physical experience. He is experiencing a lifetime discovery of who you actually are when the world isn't watching. The iron velvet contrast of physicality. This spike is where the iron velvet contrast becomes tangible. The iron is the confidence you have in your own body and your own desire. A woman who is insecure or still checking his face for validation can never achieve an authenticity spike because she is too busy monitoring her performance. The velvet is the raw, soft vulnerability of your actual response. Her image, a cinematic, high-definition close-up of a woman's hand gripped tightly into a man's forearm. The lighting is low and warm, highlighting the texture of the skin and the tension in the fingers. It represents the authenticity spike of touch, raw, unscripted and visceral. AK, when you allow yourself to be unpolished, you are demonstrating opinion sovereignty. You are saying, my pleasure is more important than my performance. This creates a vulnerability vacuum that pulls him in. He stops worrying about his own mask of competence because you have shown him that in your sanctuary only the truth matters. The sovereign finality, the power of the real, the authenticity spike of touch is what turns a physical act into a psychological memory. Hemage, a sharp focus shot of a woman's face mid-breath, her expression a mix of focus and surrender. One side of her face is in deep shadow, the iron of her mystery, while the other is in soft golden light, the velvet of her desire. AKP, by embracing the messy, unscripted reality of your touch, you ensure that you are never just an option. You become essential because you are the only woman who provides him with a connection that is as honest as it is intense. You make the experience unforgettable because you are the only woman who had the courage to drop the mask and let him see the real fire underneath. The sovereign eye contact, the unspoken language of the queen in the architecture of attraction. Most people believe that the auction is what matters. But for a woman of high status presence, the most powerful move you can make in the bedroom happens before you ever move an inch. It is the sovereign eye contact. In a world where most people look away when things get too real, the woman who can hold a man's gaze without blinking, without fidgeting with her eyes, and without seeking permission, communicates a level of power that is absolutely intoxicating. This isn't just looking at him. It is a sovereignty signal that says you are the moving train, and he is exactly where you want him to be. Puncturing the audition gaze. Most women, when they get close to a man, use checking eye contact. They look at him to see if he's happy, if he's bored, or if he's approving of what they are doing. This is the auditionous gaze, and it immediately kills the tension because it tells him that you are dependent on his reaction for your own confidence. The sovereign eye contact is the exact opposite. It is the non-reactive gaze of a woman who is grounded in her own post-validation peace. When you look at him and you don't look away first, you are creating a vulnerability vacuum. You are forcing him to actually see you, not the polished mask you wear to the office, but the raw, uninhibited woman in front of him. This level of intensity triggers his biological protector and provider instincts, but it also triggers a deep sense of respect. He realizes he is not with someone who is performing for him, but with a peer of character who is fully his equal. The iron velvet intensity. This eye contact is the ultimate expression of the iron velvet contrast. The iron is the unshakable stillness of your gaze. It is the strength that says, I am not afraid of this intimacy. The velvet is the warmth and invitation behind your eyes. Hemiger cinematic. High definition close up of a woman's eyes in low key lighting. The focus is incredibly sharp on the iris, which is a mix of amber and green. Her gaze is steady, calm and unblinking, radiating a sense of grounded power. AK, when you hold this gaze during foreplay, you are triggering a massive respect dopamine loop. He respects the iron of your confidence, but he is addicted to the velvet of the connection you are offering. It makes him feel like he has qualified to be the one on the other end of that look. It turns a physical moment into a lifetime discovery because he realizes that your eyes are the sanctuary he has been looking for. The sovereign finality, the power of being seen. Sovereign eye contact is the verbal anchor. Without the words, it claims the moment. It tells him that this experience is happening on your terms as much as his. Image a sharp, focused shot of a woman's face, partially in shadow, looking directly into the lens. Her expression is one of post-validation, peace, relaxed yet incredibly intense. This visualizes the sovereign eye contact, the look of a woman who knows exactly who she is. AK, by mastering this gaze, you ensure that you are never just an option. You become essential because you are the only woman who had the courage to truly look at him and let him truly see her. You make the experience unforgettable because you are the only woman who understood that the eyes are the door to the safe harbor he never wants to leave. The verbal anchor of intent directing the current of desire. In the high-stakes world of attraction, silence is often mistaken for mystery. But for the woman of sovereign presence, silence can sometimes be a wall that keeps a man guessing when he should be connecting. If you want to move from being a pleasant memory to an essential standard, you must master the verbal anchor of intent. This is the psychological act of using your voice to narrate your desire, set the pace, and claim the moment as your own. By speaking your truth in the sanctuary of the bedroom, you act as the architect of his memory, ensuring that the pleasure he feels is permanently attached to your unique identity and your specific will. Puncturing that silent audition. Most women fall into the trap of the silent audition. They remain quiet, focusing on their physical performance and checking his face for cues that they are doing enough. They hope he gets the hint or intuitively knows what they want. This passivity kills the tension because it places the entire performance pressure on him. However, when you use a verbal anchor, you are demonstrating opinion sovereignty. You aren't just reacting to his lead, you are inviting him into your frequency. When you whisper exactly what you want or describe how he makes you feel, you are creating a vulnerability bridge. You are taking the first step into the raw and unscripted, which gives him the psychological permission to drop his own mask of competence. A high-value man, a man who values clarity and confidence, is incredibly turned on by a woman who owns her intent. It signals that you are a peer of character who is fully checked in. You are no longer just a participant, you are the director of the experience, creating the identity link Through sound, the verbal anchor is the ultimate investment anchor. When you speak, you are linking the biological dopamine he is experiencing directly to your personality. Image is cinematic. 8K close-up of a woman's lips near a man's ear in a dimly lit, amber-toned room. Her expression is one of grounded post-validation, peace, and her mouth is slightly parted as if sharing a secret. This visualizes the verbal anchor. The moment sound becomes memory. Years later, he won't just remember a feeling, he will remember the specific way you claimed the moment. These words become respect, dopamine loops. Every time he hears a similar tone or thinks back to that night, your voice will be the safe harbor he returns to. It makes you essential because while another woman might be able to replicate a physical act, no one can replicate the way you narrate the connection. The sovereign finality, claiming the sanctuary, the verbal anchor of intent is the evidence that you are not just offering your presence, but you are sharing your mind. It is the final realization of the iron velvet contrast, the iron of your direct communication and the velvet of the vulnerability it takes to speak it. Image, a sharp, focused shot of a woman looking directly into the lens with an unblinking gaze, her hand gently resting on her own collarbone. The lighting is moody and intimate. This captures the sovereign intent of a woman who knows her voice is her power. 8K resolution. By mastering the anchor, you ensure that the experience is never generic. You show him that you are a woman of sovereign presence, who owns her voice as much as she owns her desire. You make the experience unforgettable because you are the only woman who had the courage to define the moment for both of you. The sanctuary transition from the war room to the soul in the life of a high-value man, a man who is out in the world building his legacy of competence. Every hour is a battle. He is navigating a war room of competition, high-stakes decisions, and the constant pressure to maintain his own mask of competence. To the rest of the world, he is the provider, the fixer, and the unbreakable force. But if you want to make your presence unforgettable, you must understand that he isn't looking for another performance when he gets behind closed doors. He is looking for a sanctuary. The sanctuary transition is the psychological shift that happens when you use your presence to tell him that the war is over and he has finally come home to a safe harbor. Puncturing the performance pressure, most people approach intimacy as a solved mystery, a series of physical steps leading to a conclusion. But a woman of sovereign presence understands that the most powerful part of the act happens before a single piece of clothing is removed. It is the transition of the energy. When he walks through your door, or when you first touch him after a long day, you are the architect of the atmosphere. If you are checking his face for validation or bringing the anxiety of the day into the room, you are just extending his war room. But when you lead with selective softness, you create a vulnerability vacuum. By being the one who is grounded, peaceful, and entirely focused on the present moment, possessing that post-validation peace, you give him permission to drop his guard. You are signaling that your space is a place where he doesn't have to do anything to be enough. This transition is the ultimate high-status move because it shows you aren't a consumer of his energy, but a sovereign who provides a depth he can't find anywhere else. The Iron Velvet shift into connection. The sanctuary transition relies on the iron velvet contrast. The iron is your confidence, the fact that you own your desire and you aren't auditioning for his approval. The velvet is the receptivity. When you combine these, the intimacy becomes a lifetime discovery. Imagine a cinematic, high-definition shot of a woman in a dimly lit room, the air thick with the scent of sandalwood. She is leaning back against a velvet cushion, looking at the man with a non-reactive calm. Her posture is relaxed, but her gaze is intensely focused. AK, when you transition him into your sanctuary, you are triggering the respect dopamine loop. He respects the strength it takes to be that soft. He realizes that this moment is a reward for his character, not just a physical transaction. You become essential because you are the only person who knows how to decompress his soul while simultaneously heightening his senses. The sovereign finality, the destination, the sanctuary transition turns your relationship into a destination, not a duty. You are no longer just an option in his phone. You are the place where he goes to remember who he is when he isn't fighting the world. Chemage. A close-up of a woman's hand gently but firmly cupping a man's jawline, drawing him into her space. The lighting is intimate and warm. This visualizes the sanctuary transition, the moment she takes him out of the world and into her safe harbor. By mastering this transition, you ensure that every time he is with you, he feels a profound sense of relief and exhilaration. You move from being a temporary sentiment to becoming the architecture of his peace. You make the experience unforgettable because you are the only woman who understands that to truly rock a man's world, you must first give him a place where he can finally leave it behind. Remember, foreplay isn't just about what you do, it's about the iron velvet contrast you bring to the room. When you lead with your authenticity spike and own your own pleasure with post-validation peace, you aren't just connecting, you are setting a new standard for what intimacy looks like. You are a peer of character, providing a sanctuary he can't find anywhere else. Stay grounded in your worth, keep your eye contact sovereign, and I'll see you in the next video.